Hi and welcome back to Walk in the Park, a podcast where we invite startup founders to tell about their founder journey while taking a walk outside. Today we are in Gothenburg at Go West conference or summit, biggest annual conference for startup scale-ups, VCs and corporates to bring together and share experiences. And we are together with Business Region Gothenburg. We'll be recording several episodes with investors, supercell founders and some ecosystems players to show the best stories to you. Hi Sofie.
Hi.
And welcome to Walk in the Park.
Thank you so much.
Nice meeting you here at Gothenburg and looking forward to get to know about your journey.
Thank you so much. Really nice to take part of the podcast. So thank you for inviting me.
Let's walk.
Yes, let's go.
So my first question is usually how often you have walking talks?
Never. This is definitely my first one. This is actually my first time attending any type of podcast. So yeah.
So can you then tell us more about yourself? So who are you? What do you do?
Yeah, well, so I am the co-founder and CEO of OICAN. And what we're doing, we are developing fall protection that we are integrating into just regular clothing. And to start with, we have started off with the hats with integrated protection. Mm-hmm. And when we talk about fall protection, we talk about something that will absorb impact if you fall or if you receive a hit or external blow towards the head.
And we're actually wearing the product now, both of us.
Yes.
They're really nice hats and feel comfortable and look beautiful. I look at you and you don't feel it's something, but it's still a protection.
Yeah, so most people think they're very confused because they ask, so where's the protection? Is it like an airbag? What happens? And for us, it was so important to develop a product that most people could wear without anyone else, seeing that it was some kind of protection. So yeah, that's what was really important for us.
If you can share more details on the story, how you started the company. So what inspired you to start this company?
Well, it's a pretty long story. It started off around 4.5 years ago. I had a child, a son. And when he was 1, it turned out that he was born with a medical condition causing fragile bones. And when he was diagnosed, we were standing in one of the best hospitals in the world. And there was this occupational therapist. And she, I remember it so clearly because she took this bed mattress and she cut out like a pillow. And she said, you should put it inside of his clothes. Because if he falls, you will decrease the risk of him getting hurt. And I was like standing around with this pillow thinking, what the heck? Like, is this the best thing they can offer? Yeah. And it was a really nice, thoughtful idea from her, but obviously it was not an ideal solution. So I went home and I started to Google and research. And I real quick came to realize that we have so much protection within sports industry today, but there are no alternatives for those who want to have protection in their daily life. And we could see that fall injuries is a huge societal problem, not only in Sweden, worldwide. And most injuries happen in daily life activities, and it can happen to anyone, not just those who are having a medical condition. So that's more or less how things started off for us.
Yeah, so, and do you know how big is the market?
So if we're thinking about in terms of worldwide, we have the World Health Organization, and they stated that it's around 37 million people seeking medical attention every year due to fall-related injuries. And in Sweden, it's a tremendous problem, and most people affected is usually children and also elders.
So why you decided to start with the hats?
Because we made a market survey, and we asked people what are you mostly afraid of, and we were thinking ourselves what do we want to protect, and I think it came very natural that let's start with the head because it's the most important part.
So how was the development of product and the company since that point, 4.5 years ago, when you decided we want to do something with that. So what was the first steps you did?
That's also a long journey. Actually started off, I was living in Finland by the time for a few months. And I found a student and I asked her to start sewing. And it was really interesting because the prototypes were definitely not the same as it looks like today. But I had a vision. And you know, when I became like almost crazy because every time I was walking around and I saw a kid with a hat, I could see our protection in that hat. Although it wasn't even like, you know, it wasn't even developed by that time, but I started to have this vision how it should look like. Yeah, 4 years later, that vision came into life.
So when did you release the first product? Is it just happened now?
Yes, actually 3.5 months ago.
Oh wow, so it's pretty fresh. So can I ask you why you decided not to develop only the protection system and talk to big brands and companies that they will be using your technology, but you decided to make your own brand?
So we started off with building our own brand because we wanted to be very close to the customer. We wanted to know, like, how do you feel about the product? We engaged a lot of test pilots from start because we wanted to have their inputs. Like, is it comfortable? Do you like the design? You know, what can we change and adjust? That was really important for us to be very close to the market.
So first step, you were in Finland at that time, you found a student to start sewing it, but then what happened after as the next step?
So then we came back to Sweden, we continued with someone else who sewed, and then we pitched our first idea to an incubator, and we were accepted. And I guess after that, things just started to develop, and but trust me, it's been a journey.
I can imagine that. So was it an incubator here in Sweden?
Yeah, so we started off with the incubator in Jönköping. It's called Science Park Jönköping. And they helped us with business development. They helped us with, you know, everything that has to do with creating a company, how to think, what to do, how to create your business model and your business idea. Everything. And then, like, I think it was a few months later, we were also contacted by another incubator in Borås. It's called Borås Inc. And they are specialized within, like, textiles. And even though we are not working with it, we are not developing a textile product, but I mean, in some way we are.
Can I ask you about what you've done before? What were you doing? What were you working with? Or how was your life before you started a company?
So I was working, I have a degree in political science, so it's very different from this. But I always also used to work within sales. And then I was living abroad for quite many years together with my husband. And yeah, I was working as a volunteer, studying languages and
have you
things.
thought of starting a company one day?
The crazy part is my dad is an entrepreneur, and I don't know why I never had the thought of starting my own company until this idea showed up. And then I started to think, like, I've always been very confused, like, haven't really known, like, what to do, like, what's my purpose. And I don't know, whenever I started a company, everything, like, came together and it started to make sense.
So now it feels meaningful to do what you do now?
Yes, I feel like I'm in the right place. I feel like entrepreneurship is something that comes quite naturally. I like the selling part. I like, problem solving. Problem solving is my favorite part. When you see a problem and someone says, like, oh, it's impossible. Oh, let me prove you
that
wrong.
Just gives you energy.
Oh, yeah. That's how, for us, when we started, we were thinking, okay, so let's, protection, put it in a hat. We don't have to make it so complicated. We can just, find something out there and just integrate it, and that's it. But when we started to look for protection and like safety paddings, we started to realize that there's so much crap, sorry to say, but there's a lot of materials with a lot of toxic, and we decided that we really didn't want to work with something that could be potentially harmful for children or anyone who would wear it, or work with production in it. So for us, that led us into the journey of developing our own material. As it's 100% reusable, and it has low carbon dioxide emissions, and also it's classified as non-toxic, which means that all the components in the material, like, it doesn't cause any like harm for anyone who wears it or so.
So you said several times we started a company, we've been in the incubator, we are doing. So who are we? Who is your co-founder?
It's my second half, and it's my sister. I don't think I would have done it without her. She has been an entrepreneur since last 10-15 years. So she knew how to get started, and it's interesting because we're coming from the same family, we have the same values, but we have very much like opposite like qualities.
Complementary?
Yes, so much. Whatever she loves, I hate, and whatever I love, she hates. So I think it's a great team, because that's what you need. You don't need, the second person of yourself. You need to have someone who challenges you, and I think we challenge each other very well.
So since you said just now solving problems, that's what you love doing, and this is what also why you think you're on the right place, and it's not a secret, entrepreneurs solving a lot of problems, and you have so much things to do, so you need to always prioritize which fire to run to today. So how do you know what to focus on, which problem to solve today? How do you work with that?
It's actually a good question, because it's not always easy to know. When you're a small company, you have like all the hats on your head. It's like someone asks that, like, who's in charge of this? And I'm like, what do you mean? I'm in charge of everything. And same for my sister. So it's really important to prioritize and, think about like what's the, musts and not the, the needs or like the wants. You need to separate those ones. So you're really focusing on what moves you and drives you forward.
So how do you do that? You do like weekly sessions together to see what to prioritize, or daily with yourself?
I'm trying, I make a lot of lists. I have this is the burning list. This is you have to do it now. And these are like, it's not burning, but this is something I want to do, and I can do it when I find the time for it. So it's important, because as soon as you get like occupied with all these, like you have all these things and you don't know like what to do, I would suggest like make a list and start distinguishing the musts from the wants.
Again, continuing on this journey since 4.5 years ago, probably has been some ups and downs on the journey. So how do you deal with the ups and downs? How do you pick yourself up?
During the first year, it's so important to, have faith in yourself and to understand that, like, okay, you have an idea. And I think it's very easy that you get haunted by these thoughts, like, oh, it's not good enough and it's not going to work and no one is going to like it. And I think that's the biggest challenge most people have, to like work against that and try to just like believe in yourself enough to try. But then like after the first year, when you start to realize like, okay, so I'm gonna do this, then there will be more challenges, and there will be even more challenges the further you come. And I think for me, a good learning has been that, there will always be new challenges, but you always find a way through. And Yeah, as crazy as it sounds, like sometimes you think like, oh no, there's no solution for this one. There always is, and just like try to keep your thoughts like positive, and try to like see the solution instead of the problem.
What helps you to stay motivated to keep thinking positive? Do you have any specific techniques how to do that?
Well, I'm trying to first of all, I try to spend time with people who inspires me, or if I don't spend time with them, at least I listen to them if I watch some clips or so. Because you will always have you will have good days where you feel like, okay, you're on top of the world, everything is going great, and then it can change so fast from one day to another, and then you just feel like, oh, things are not going great, and those are the times you really need to like put these clips on, to just because everything has to do with energy, and you need to just swap the environment and the energy you're in, and you can usually real quick like turn around from that.
So you're pretty conscious about where you get your energy, how you recharge your batteries.
Yes, I am.
Spending time with people who inspired you, as you just mentioned. What else helps you?
Well, I think balance, because if you work 24/7, I've seen it so many times, like there's so many startups like hitting the wall. They believe like quantity, the more you work, the better. But I have a strong belief that everything has to do about with quality. So choose quality before quantity, and make sure that you have a good balance. You need to have time outside of the company to get inspired or get inspiration, but also, if you have a problem, it's the best thing for me to just even though my body feels like, I need to sit here until I figure it out. No, you don't. You go out to the forest, and every time I do and I relax, the answer always comes to me. That's my greatest advice.
Yes, I love it. So, but it's interesting. Your sister is your co-founder, so you probably have a lot of time together outside working hours.
Yes.
And you still able to really take breaks talking about business during family dinners and celebrations or something?
Oh yes, she made it real clear. I had a hard time adapting to this, but she said okay, so when we get the kids from preschool, we are not allowed to talk about work. And I had such a hard time doing that. I was like, and she was like, and I was like, oh, damn it. And then I just I started to understand, okay, no talking about work after picking up the kids. No talking about work during weekends. If there's something, we need to discuss it on Monday. So for us, I think that has been key to, separate also our work from family life.
Talking about building a brand and a company who work direct with the customers, your lessons about marketing so far, what are your learnings?
Well, we have a product that is a little bit tricky because, if we put it out online, most people see oh, it's a normal hat, and then they swipe. So we need to be very innovative when it comes to our communication and marketing towards our customers. And I think it's so important to just try different ways, see what works and what doesn't, and don't try to, reach all the market groups at the same time. Put your focus into one, see if it works, and then move on.
If you could go back to 4.5 years ago, would you do anything differently about marketing?
Marketing, I'm not so sure. And this is my sister's special area, so I guess I'm not really the right person to speak about it. But when it comes to product development, greatest advice is to not start with the hardest product first. We did that. We wanted to create a cotton hat or a protection that would work in a cotton hat, but that was a really hard to find the right design. So I would say to start with the easiest first, and then you can expand from there.
What do you think are the main qualities of an entrepreneur?
I think entrepreneurship is not for everyone. It is a lot of pressure. and you need to have a lot of persistence, because you will have people saying, things. You will have your mind saying things, and you need to just hold on to the core and the gut feeling and the intuition, and you need to just be extremely persistent in the work you're doing, because for many startups it takes time. And I think that's where maybe a lot of startups fail, because they lose patience and they think, enough, because now it's been a year. But look at us. It took us 3.5 years to even launch. So you need to have patience, persistence, and just believe in yourself.
But did you have that moments of close to giving up during that period?
I mean, of course, I think anyone who would say that they haven't, I'm not so sure if they're honest. But of course, there's always times. But then, for me, it was enough just coming home after a day, meeting your child, who was the whole reason why everything started. And that's for me, that was just the motivation I needed to continue.
What was your childhood like, and how were you as a kid?
I think it's Oprah who says, if you don't know what to do with your life, start looking back at your childhood, because you will always find the answers there. And it made so much sense for me, because when I got into this journey, I started to think about my childhood and what was I like? And I loved to solve problems. And I really loved to, create a business. I was baking and selling everything I could find to anyone in the nearby surrounding. And I love to, talk in front of people. I don't anymore. I don't know why. I need to connect with my child there, inner child. But I think a lot of the traits that I had as a kid has followed me to where I am today.
Any other experiences, in addition to selling, baking and organizing, doing businesses? Anything else you remember maybe of your main family values or what you've learned during your child time?
I think my parents, if we wanted something, we usually had to work for it. And I really didn't understand it at the time, because I felt like it's unfair. Everyone else is getting something and I need to work for it. But it makes so much sense now, because I am a good hard worker, and I very rarely give up. So that is something I got. And also obviously a lot of love and good values.
What are some of the values from your family?
I mean, I think it's to be honest and truthful. I guess those are the two main things that has been important, but also to have high moral and follow your gut feeling.
Some of those values you bring into the building your company as well?
Definitely. Because now we're at Go West, and this is a good platform to find investors. And when you're a startup, it's easy to feel okay, so I just have to perform, I need to pitch, and I need to make sure I impress someone. But I think it's so important that is it's a two-way communication. So just as it's important for me to impress, same thing goes for the investor. And I think it's important to just feel okay, so this is someone I'm going to work with. So it's important you feel I have trust in this person. And this is someone I could see in my company. Because know your worth. It's very important.
What is important for you when you look for the investor? You just mentioned trust.
I think I follow my gut feeling a lot. Same as my sister. And it's important to feel it's a good person. He has a good heart, or her. And the rest, obviously, it's a bonus. You know, if they have the right experience, they have other things to give. But, you know, those main thing, the core values, that you are seeing also the bigger picture, that you understand the value of our product, I think that's key for us.
So if you could give a piece of advice to yourself back to when you started, what would you tell yourself, or what would you do differently maybe?
I think also, like, don't believe all your fears. For me, you know, I think for many people, it's like you are your biggest enemy at times. And have more faith in yourself that you can succeed with something. If you just have that, you can do anything. So
That sounds like great advice to both yourself, but also to anyone else thinking of starting a company. Thank you so much.
thank you
for your
having me.
time and for sharing your story.
Thank you.